Now, if you spend any time sewing, designing, or creating garments, then you already know that having the right tools in your studio can make all the difference. There are certain items that go beyond being just nice to have. They become the absolute essential to the way you work. They help improve your workflow, save time, increase precision, and make your finished garments look more polished and professional. Over the years, I've found a handful of studio tools that I reach for over and over again. Tools that have truly become part of my everyday process. So in this video, I'm sharing 5 studio essentials I simply can't work without, and why each one is such an important part of my studio setup. Number 1 is the full body mannequin with collapsible shoulders, and the collapsible shoulders feature is really key. The first studio essential I can't live without is my full body mannequin with collapsible shoulders, and that collapsible shoulder element is really key. Now, this is one of the most valuable tools in my workspace because it allows me to see garments in three-dimensional format as I work. When I'm designing or constructing a garment, laying it flat on the table only tells me a little part of the story. But once I place it on the actual mannequin, then I can instantly evaluate the fit, the balance, the proportion, and the way the fabric drapes on the body. It helps me to see whether the shoulders are sitting correctly, whether the waistline is in the correct place, how the hem hangs, and whether the silhouette looks the way I envisioned it. I also use it heavily during the draping process. Instead of drafting everything flat, I can manipulate the fabric directly on the form, pin it in place, and shape the garment visually. This kind of hands-on visualization is incredibly important for the creative process, and especially when I don't really want to draw the design first. And as well, beyond construction, the mannequin is also useful for styling, presentation, and once the garment is complete, seeing the mannequin seeing it on the mannequin gives me a clearer idea of the final result before it gets presented to the customer. It helps me to spot issues I might have missed otherwise, and it gives me confidence in the finished piece. For me, the mannequin isn't just a display tool, it's an essential part of the design process. Now, depending on your budget, you can spend a few £100s on a torso one, but I've spent nearly £1,000 on a full body mannequin with the removable sleeves. The second essential piece of equipment is my steam iron, and I honestly believe this is one of the most underrated tools in my sewing studio, especially when it's paired with a really good vacuum board. A lot of beginners focus on the sewing machine, but the truth is pressing is just as important as the stitching. A garment can be sewn beautifully, but if the seams aren't pressed properly, it won't have that professional finish. I use my steam iron at every stage of construction. I press the seams open after each stitch to reduce the bulk, and I use it as a quality check. I use the steam to shape darts and curves. I press hems to create crisp, clean edges, and I take my time to give finished garments a final press so they look polished and ready to wear. The steam itself is especially important because it helps relax the fibers and mold the fabric into shape. Whenever I'd have an evening or wedding dress client, I always arrive on the day to press the dress before the bride puts it on. Now, this is what gives garment structure, smoothness, and refinement. And it's important where you can use a de-ionized water. That way you won't get limescale buildup in your iron system. Now, my steam iron is one of those tools that instantly elevates the quality of my work. And I probably spent about £1,000 on my iron alone. So no matter what I'm making, it's always within reach. Now, the third studio essential is my collapsible table, which I had custom made for me by a company in France. This enables me to maximize or reduce my workspace depending on the project. One of the biggest challenges in a sewing studio is having enough surface space. You need room to cut fabric, lay out patterns, pin pieces together, organize materials, and sometimes even assemble the garments. That's where my collapsible table is essential. Now, for me, I started sewing over 23 years ago on a bedroom floor in the middle of Tooting. It gives me the extra work surface I need when I'm in the middle of a project, but allows it to be folded away when I need to free up space. This flexibility is especially important if your studio isn't huge. Not every creative workspace has the luxury of permanent cutting tables or large dedicated workstations, so having something that can expand when you need it. Often for production orders, we have the table at its full length, and then when we're doing smaller sampling orders, we'll fold both sizes down. At full length, my cutting table is 3 meters by 1.5 meters, and at its smallest, it's 1.5 by 1.5. So for me, it's one of the smarter solutions for maximizing space and still having room to work comfortably. And it cost me £1,500 to get this table custom made. Now, my fourth essential piece of equipment in my studio is the hemline marker. And this tool makes achieving clean hemlines so much easier. If you ever try to mark a hemline by eye, you'll know how difficult it is to keep the length consistent all the way around, especially on skirts, dresses, and garments with long flowing fabric. Even small inconsistencies, they can affect the balance of the finished product. A rule you may have heard me talk about in my earlier videos is that for bias cut garments, you leave them hanging overnight before you finish the hem. Now, the hemline marker eliminates all that guesswork. It allows me to mark an even hem at consistent height, which means that I can get an accurate finish for the client much faster. It also saves time because I don't have to keep on re-immersing myself in the different parts of the garment. The result is better precision and a cleaner final look. All you have to do is remember to fill it with powdered chalk on a regular basis, because that's the key thing that creates the mark on the fabric that you can eventually steam out when you're finished. It's one of those tools that it may seem simple, but once you start using it, you realize how much easier it makes the whole process. Now, my fifth and final essential tool for my fashion studio is the loop turner. It's a small and delicate tool, but it solves one huge problem that often can be quite frustrating during the garment making process, and that's turning narrow fabrics inside out into rouleau loops. Whenever making straps, spaghetti ties, rouleau loops, button loops, or any narrow fabric detail, turning these pieces the right side round can be tedious. It can waste time, damage the fabric, and make the process unnecessarily difficult. The loop turner makes that process quick and efficient. It grips to the end of the tube and pulls through smoothly, but you have to be careful that you don't catch it on any of the inside stitching. And it slowly turns the fabric from inside out to the right way round in seconds. That means less frustration, cleaner results, and much more efficiency. For detail work and finishing, it saves both time and effort. And because it's so small, it might be overlooked. But once you use it, you'll never go back. So there we are. These are my 5 studio essentials I can't work without. And each one plays a role in helping me create my garments efficiently and professionally.